talk about church music, that you performed in a church as you were growing up. What role do you think church has had in the history of American music?
I don't know about American music itself. I know that a lot of people, I mean, you can go back to Aretha Franklin, to Sam Cooke, to so many people that started there and sort of moved on to what people would refer to as secular. I think that when you grow up singing in front of people, there is a mechanism that takes over that you're not learning on the fly. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, that it was going to be the launching pad for bigger and better things, maybe not better, but bigger and other things. We just sang, and we were singing for a purpose, and I still sing for a purpose, and almost the same purpose. Maybe not necessarily to lead people to God, but to give people a respite from whatever they may be dealing with at that time, or to encourage whatever they're dealing with at that time, which I think is sort of the same feeling.
You see the movie Mo' Better Blues?
Yeah,
of course. There's one song that Denzel sings about love songs, if you recall, great song. The character in the movie is saying, too many love songs. Can we ever get to a point where we've written everything we need to write and sing everything we need to sing about love?
No, you can never have enough, because every situation is going to be a little different, even though you may be writing about the same thing. At least for me, it's always a moment in time. That's why I'm always having to explain myself, especially to a young lady that I'm dating. She's like, well, what about all these songs? What about, I thought you were this, I thought you were that. It's like, no, you got caught up in the music. I did feel that way at that moment. And then I went back to watching sports and playing golf and doing all the other stuff that I do. I'm a guy. I'd have these moments where I feel this way, and then I go back to being just like all the other jerks and idiots that you know. That's pretty much how it works. But no, you can never. I mean, it's the only thing that we all have in common.
Now, when you're singing a love song, how do you approach it? Do you try to recall memories you have and tell your story, or are you like any actor on the stage where you're trying to play a character, or it's just a song and you're trying to deliver the words in that song as you would do any other?
That's a tough question. I really don't know. I think that I'm more in tune with it on a natural basis, to where I don't have to go there because I wrote the songs and they do have meaning, but I don't necessarily have to, like I would with a role, to prepare and get into that space. I'm already there because it's me, but I'm not thinking of that at that time. I'm in a trance-like state, just sort of getting rid of myself and just being the vessel to sort of bring the music to the people. I'm out there for them. There's nothing in my show that is about me. There's nothing in the music that I write that's necessarily about me. It's purging the system. And if I don't write, it'll just get backed up inside of me and then I'll explode. So it has to come out.
Why is it important, do you think, for a fan to see you live? If they've got all your recorded music, right, what's the difference between that and seeing you live?
I cannot show everything that I can do on a record. It's impossible. There are too many things at play, because I had some commercial success that killed my creativity from the standpoint of, when you listen to my first album, I showed everybody what I could do. There aren't very many hits on that album. It's just music, and there was a freeness to that. There was I didn't know what I was doing, so there were no rules. But the minute I had a hit, and I tasted some success, and I tasted some chart success, and I started making money, then it was like, oh, so if I do that, then I'll be X, Y, and Z. And I think it's a great thing and a bad thing at the same time. Life is full of its sort of personified oxymorons that you just don't know whether it's good or bad, but you still have to go down that path.
You've done 13 albums?
14.
And by the way, what do we call them now? Do we call them albums, records, CDs? Do you have a name for it?
No.
Okay, you've done 14. You've sold over 20 million records. Now, when you do a new record, do you have sort of an inspiration that drives you, or is there a unifying theme or a vision around it, or you simply promise a record company, you owe them a bunch of songs, you go into the studio and you do the record?
All the above. I have come to the realization that I cannot be in a relationship because I have used all of the people that I've dealt with as the fuel for the songs that I write. And once they have used up their usefulness, I'm moving on to the next person. And unfortunately, the women don't like that.
You're kidding.
They don't like that. So, that's where it comes from. I put myself in these situations, and I do these things. And this record I'm making now, that's almost finished, has been the product of me saying, you know what? I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to tell people what I need from them. I'm no longer interested in trying to say that I'm one thing, do something else and hurt someone in the process. Either you can deal with me the way that I am, or you deal with me not at all. And that's where I am musically. That's where I am, from a relationship standpoint. I am loving the space that I'm in right now.
Did I hear you say you can't be in a relationship?
No.
That's a strong statement. You're going to break a lot of hearts by people here.
I'm not saying I can't hang out with you.
Right. Hang out with you. There's something.
What I'm saying is that when it's a crazy thing, because again, the more you give someone, the more they want. And I used to think that, well, I'll just, I'll do that and I'll say all the things I need to say and I'll do it and then I'll just do whatever I need over here. But, people got hurt in that process. And for a long time I didn't really care. And now I decided that, you know what? I'm just going to be real from now on and see how that works. Because the other hasn't worked. The other way really hasn't worked. People go crazy. And I'm the reason why. And I think I tried to rationalize it before by saying, well, that's just them. They're just being how they are. And then I had to look back and say, you know what, I did kind of make that happen. So I tell you, I'm a lot more stress-free now. I'm a little lonelier, but...
I can't believe that.
Listen,
where do you live now?
I live in L.A.
In LA.
In LA. Now, I don't have to be lonely when I don't want to.
Right.
But the more you're with someone and the more you're repeatedly with them, the more they're going to want. So I kind of have to push away from that.
So if you do a Google search for Brian McKnight, you have all kinds of rich information there. And there's one interesting feature where it says people who search for you also search for, and there's a bunch of artists
really?
who you can probably get. For your fans, who would you want them to search for if they're on Google and trying to find Brian McKnight music?
This would be a very grandiose statement from me, but I would hope it would be someone like Leonardo da Vinci, because there are so many things that I want to do. I was just having this conversation with somebody a little bit earlier, where if you try to be more than what people know you to be, there is a hating aspect of that, and I've tried to study the psychology of why that is, where whether it was Michelangelo or Da Vinci or some of the other people down through history, I'm not sure if people were... Well, I watched this Bo Jackson thing yesterday. That was so incredible because this guy was a football player and a baseball player, was great at both. And, he really had to deal with a lot of crap from people who, and this is my own observation, it could be true or not true, that people have a hard time with someone being extraordinary, because it then makes them look at themselves in the mirror and say, well, why didn't I get that? I think a lot of people sit around and go, well, I know that I have a talent, but I don't want this talent. I want his talent. I want that. So if that guy ends up being something that's super great and he does something else that's great, now it's like, well, they're looking for some reason as to why. It's always a reflection of themselves, and it really sucks that that's the case, because there's so many other things that I want to do, but you always have to think, well, what are people going to think? What are people? So now I'm just kind of like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just going to do what I want to do. I'm going to stop thinking about, well, of course, some of that's gotten me in trouble this year. but you can't worry about that, especially in the age of social media, because everyone's a critic, even if they have 6 followers.
You got more than 6. How has social media affected the business of music or the way that you relate to your fans?
It's the best thing and worst thing that's ever happened. I am leaning more towards wishing that it wasn't that way, because the mystery of wondering about someone makes you want them. It makes you miss them. It makes you really look forward to the next thing they're going to do. When you have access to someone 24 hours a day, it diminishes their celebrity. It diminishes the work that they do, because now the playing field is level. It also allows, the technology of today allows for anyone to be in this business. And I don't think, and look, I'm not going to be mad at people who try to be, But if anyone can do it, then it's not special. And I think that's where we're at. I hear people say all the time, well, I'm not going to support artists because I think they make too much money, or I'm not going to support them because that guy's no different than me, or that he's this or that. Now I can do that, so why should I go out? And it wasn't like that 20 years ago. It's not like that in any other industry. We do not go down to watch professional basketball players because they're like us. We go to see people do superhuman things because we marvel at them. But for some reason, when it comes to music, it's like, but again, it's as you like, whatever you like.
You did a live stream recently, and we're live streaming your show tonight. Very excited about that. What do you think is the potential of allowing people to around the world to experience your live show digitally in a way that they've never been able to do before?
It's not something you can really gauge, except for the fact that when it's over, you'll get that instant feedback through social media. Your first knee-jerk reaction is, well, if I give this away for free and people can see that, why would they come and see me? Well, there's still nothing like going and actually being a part of an audience.
I think it whets their appetite, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what you hope is the case. Now, of course, there are some people out there who are like, well, I'm just going to sit at home. That's the one thing I would say about this technology today, that we have become so reclusive. You go by a park, there's no kids playing on it. People don't get out anymore. Consequently, people are obese. People are, sick, and they don't get any fresh air, and it's crazy. There are so many. My ex-wife's grandfather, we used to sit around and have. When he died, he was 99. But I believe right around the time he was 99, we used to sit around and have these philosophical conversations, because I marveled at the fact that this guy was too young for World War I, too old for World War II. But he saw, the first automobiles, the first airplanes, the first everything. He would always say, the world is getting wickeder and wiser. And I never really understood what that meant until the onslaught of this technology has taken us to a place where I'm not sure it's the best place for us to be.
It's obvious you're talented as a performer, writer, producer. What do you think your real talent is, and do you think there's a way to extend that talent to something outside of music?
I created a term called clarocity. That's, where is this on my clarocity meter? It's the ability to sort of put some things together that are put together in a way to where people sort of have a different perspective than what they had before. And I think that's one of the things people love about the music that I do. Obviously, I'm singing it, and some other things. I think when they break it down, they really listen. And that's what I see with this show. That, when you strip away all of the beats and all that stuff, and you bring it down to its purest form, people can actually listen. They're not just hearing you, they're listening to you. And I think they are now understanding my clarocity meter, and hopefully I can move that into some other things.
Beautiful, man. Pleasure to meet you.
You too.